Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my late ex-husband's kids money, especially after they tried suing me? My late ex-husband and I had 3 kids together. We divorced because he had mental health issues that he refused to seek help for. He remarried a woman almost immediately after, and they divorced as well after they had 2 young kids together. 2 divorces in 5-year span prompted him to finally get help, and he became a much better person, and we reestablished a close friendship. When he got sick, could no longer work, and his medical bills were bankrupting him, I offered for him to live with me and our kids. When he passed, I established Social Security for my kids and moved on with my life, and I assumed that she did the same. The kids are now all over 18. 3 years ago, I got a court summons. His 2 other kids decided that their father had remarried me, and I stole all his money for myself/my kids. I was basically just the devil, and they were going to get what they were owed. This was completely wrong. I never remarried my ex. While we lived together as a family for the past almost 6 years, it was not even a little romantic, and it would have been stupid to remarry him. His medical bills were insane. There was no money for any of the kids, because he had no money. I was fine to have his kids come over, which was usually 50-50 aside from years 2 and 6, but I never pretended to be a parent to them. The reason there's some money now is because I was able to establish a good career, and my current husband was established when we met. I tried to talk to them, but they wouldn't listen and insisted on going before a judge. During the hearing, when records were pulled out, they switched to the argument that my ex acted as a stay-at-home parent for me, which allowed me to grow my career. This didn't work, and their case was dismissed. Now, they're not only still low income, but they have racked up lawyer's fee. They're now crying to anyone that will listen about how evil I am to bankrupt teenagers, and how they're even more unable to go to college because I won't be fair. Some of our mutual relatives are now saying that I should care more about these kids, because they were basically my stepkids even if not by law, and that a family isn't that black and white. Now for the top comments. Not they how. They played dirty and now they are paying for it. Not your problem. Crappy actions meet crappy consequences. I like to say good decisions come from experience. Experience comes from bad decisions. Not they how. And clearly, they were either misleading the lawyer, this case seems unwinnable, or the lawyer was hoping you would settle. Either way, they're not your problem. The lawyer got paid. He probably told them the chances are low, but why should he try to convince them not to pay him a lot of money? Probably one of those unethical lawyers taking advantage of fatherless teens full of rage, promising a settlement if they put enough pressure on dad's ex-wife because lawyer gets paid regardless. Not the a-hole. There's clearly not ever going to be a way for you to alter their perspective on this. I am sure they legitimately feel that you somehow were unfair to them in this complex situation. However, that's on them, not you. If they had to be caretakers for their dying father, their burden would have been worse. They can join the legions of people who get zero financial resources from their parents and make their own way. You were an amazing person for helping your ex, and you owe the kids he created after your relationship was dissolved nothing. Plus, the kids had their own mother. It sounds like at the time of his passing, those kids might have been under 18. If their mom didn't go through the steps with Social Security for them to receive a portion of their dad's death benefit, well, tough. It sounds like the dad might have had 50-50 shared parenting with wife too, so there might not have been a child support order in place. Again, that's on wife too to explain to her kids, but I wouldn't be surprised if those kids heard a lot of "your dad is a deadbeat," even if support wasn't warranted in the case. These kids might be working from a baseline like, "Dad doesn't pay." Hope he will never know. Funny, I bet that those kiddos didn't step in as his heirs to settle any outstanding debts he had, if there were any. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not paying for my stepchildren's college? I, 49, have 2 stepchildren, Leo, 19 male, and Adam, 17 male. I entered their lives when they were 7 and 5, and despite my efforts, they never warmed up to me. I wasn't trying to be their mom, but just another loving parental figure. They told their dad how much they didn't like me when told them that we were engaged, and told my husband that they didn't want him to get married. Their dad reassured them that they would always be a big part of his life, and asked them to give me a chance. We even went to their mother for help, but she refused. They refused to come to the wedding and wouldn't spend the holidays with their dad if I was there. I was hurt over it for a very long time, but eventually grew to accept that this is how things were going to be, and just tried to focus on my own children. Although my husband always held out hope that one day we could all be one big happy blended family. Tragically, my husband passed away in an accident. It was hard, and after the funeral, Leo and Adam never reached out to us again. They barely acknowledged their half-siblings, 9 male and 9 female, at family events with my husband's side of the family, and I was sad for them. Fast forward to now, and my niece, sister-in-law's daughter, is going to college, and I agreed to give her $30,000 after sophomore year. My husband loved his sister and niece, so I was more than happy to do it. Word got back to Leo and Adam, and they learned that their father had a huge life insurance policy that I was the sole beneficiary of. Plus, my side business is now turning over a sizable profit. They reached out to me angry that I was hoarding their father's money and threatening to sue if I didn't tell them how much I got and get half. I was upset, but calmly explained to them that 1, life insurance isn't the same as an inheritance, so they had no legal claim to it. 2, when I initially received the payout, I gave some to their mom to hold on to them until they were of age. They didn't believe me until I sent them proof, and apparently their mom used the money to cover living costs and there was nothing left for them. Since I used some of the insurance money to fund my business, mother-in-law is asking me to pay for Leo and Adam to go to school, but I don't want to. They literally haven't spoken to me in years, and the first time they do is to demand money? Mother-in-law asked me to think of my own children, and how Leo and Adam may take out their resentment towards me on them. If that's the case, then I don't care to foster a relationship between them. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add. I keep saying this, so I'll add it in here. 1, the life insurance policy was through my husband's job, and I was automatically named. My husband could have changed it, but didn't get around to it. 2, while my stepchildren were never named in the policy, there was always an understanding between us that I would give up some of the money to help Leo and Adam out, which is why I gave it to their mom. 3, no, there wasn't an official will, but it was my husband's intention to make one once he turned 60, but he died in his late 40s. 4, as for survivor's benefits, I can't say if Leo and Adam got some, since their mom and them never talked to me, and I never received anything in the mail about it. I'm guessing their mom took the money I gave her, and didn't think that she would need anything else. Edited to add. Again, keep saying this as well, so I'll comment here. 1, while I don't feel comfortable giving the exact amount, I will say that I gave their mother around 40% of the overall policy. It's the same amount that I saved for my children, while keeping 20% for myself as a spouse. Part of my 20% is what I used to start my business. 2, I didn't put the money into a trust for them because I trusted that their mom would do what she thought was best for them, and didn't bother to keep tabs on it. 3, up until they called me, I didn't know my stepchildren didn't have money for college. 4, neither my husband or I had wills at the time, because we thought we were both too young for those. But since his passing, I have made one for myself. 5, my stepchildren are welcome to try, but I doubt that they can sue me for anything because most of my husband's savings went to paying funeral costs and any debts he had prior to his death. The house we lived in was a gift from my side of the family with the condition that it would be solely in my name. 6, I also love sister-in-law's daughter and have a relationship with her, which is one of the reasons why I'll be giving her $30,000. It won't take care of all her expenses, but it is a good start. Not today, Hull. Do not let the people around you guilt you into spending the life insurance money, plus your hard-earned cash on ungrateful children. You owe them nothing. Mother-in-law asked me to think of my own children, and how Leo and Adam may take out their resentment towards me on them. They already don't even acknowledge their half-siblings. There's nothing more for them to resent. The gall of that woman. Like she doesn't have a front row seat to how her eldest grandkids treat their young siblings. Mother-in-law can pay for those 2 jerks. Leave Opie alone. Mother-in-law can also take it up with her son's first wife. Not today, Hull. Leo and Adam are already resenting their half-siblings. Plus, you already gave money to their mother for them, but she used it all. Your money, your choice. You owe them nothing. Yeah, It's their mother they need to be taking this up with, but probably realize it's all gone, and so are going to try and humbug off Opie. I've noticed a lot of the time, in-laws and similar relatives believe anything their relative contributed to the household was his/hers exclusively, but anything the spouse contributed or was given is marital property. I am also sure if Opie had put it in a trust for the kids and her as trustee, they would have accused her of micromanagement, or basically wouldn't trust her to keep her word. Not an a-hole. They haven't spoken to you in years. They barely acknowledge their half-siblings. You literally gave their mom money for them. Why would they think, and they are ridiculous to think, they are entitled to more money for college? Next story. Am I the a-hole for not splitting money from my son's college fund to give to his stepsister? My stepdaughter's dad is a very wealthy man. I have only one son from a previous marriage. Since her father claimed he already had a college fund for her, since her father told us that, we didn't really save up a college fund for her since she already technically had one. When it was time for our stepdaughter to go to college, she asked her father for the money and he said had lost the money on spending on his multiple mistresses over the years. Our stepdaughter asked for another set of college funds since he already had millions, but he refused. My stepdaughter came to me and my wife, and the only way she would get a college fund is if I split the money from my son's accounts. My wife wants to accept it, but I don't. It wouldn't be fair, and we were led to believe he still had that money, so our son shouldn't be punished for it. My stepdaughter proclaims she hates me and my wife, and in-laws are stating I'm an a-hole who's heartless. They say I don't care about her future. I don't think I should be blamed for this, but her father should be the one getting yelled at. Am I really being cruel here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You were led to believe that she already had a college fund set up for her. You provided a college fund for your child, and you were not obligated to split that, / share it with someone else who was supposed to already have one. Your stepdaughter is not the a-hole either. She has a right to be upset over the situation and angry at you though. Your stepdaughter's dad, on the other hand, is the big a-hole for spending his child's college fund that he has told you and your wife he has set up, especially when he's not limited on cash. Soft a-hole for your wife, because she should have set up a separate college fund for her daughter, because it shouldn't fall to a single parent to contribute to the fund regardless of one party having more money. If she hadn't separated from her ex, she likely would have been contributing to it anyway. I disagree. Stepdaughter does not have a right to be mad at Opie, and her anger is misdirected. She should be mad at her dad. Like WTF. Also, the fact her dad has the money but won't spend it on her education, whereas Opie doesn't. They saved for years, and I agree, his son shouldn't have to suffer because her rich dad just doesn't feel like it anymore. My wife would most likely save money for her if they hadn't separated. Not the a-hole. Have your wife check her divorce degree. This is usually defined as part of the divorce. If it indicates that father is responsible, sue for the college fund. Wait, so the dad promised and went back on his word, but she hates you and everybody else blame you? Not the a-hole. I mean, the only one at fault is stepdaughter's father, who clearly has the money, but for no reason decided to punish her. But you two as parents also at fault for simply trusting him and not preparing for the worst. Are you telling me that neither of you knew the man well enough to see this coming? Someone clearly didn't learn a lesson during the divorce. I still don't understand why he would spend specifically that money in that account, but the guy apparently has millions anyway. It seems like he never wanted to pay for college in the first place. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my stepson to move rooms when the new baby arrives? My husband has 2 kids, a 17-year-old daughter Cassie and a 10-year-old son Brad. Cassie decided that she would live full-time with her mom when she turned 16, which she could legally do at that age. My husband and his ex-wife share 50-50 custody of Brad, week on, week off. In January of this year, my husband made a decision that he wanted to move to and buy a new house in another city that is 2 hours flight away. This meant that we would have to fly back every second week. We kept an apartment here, when we have custody of Brad as he goes to school in the city we used to live in. Since January, the past 4 months, Brad has spent a total of 5.5 weeks, elapsed, at our new house over the various school and public holidays. He has stayed 2 weeks in January, half a week in February, half a week in March, and 2 weeks in April. Our new house is 4 bedrooms. The master bedroom which my husband and I share is at the end of a long hallway. Right next to our room is Brad's room for when he comes to visit in the school holidays. Between his room and the next room is a space where we have an office space, desk and chair, set up. The next room is Cassie's room for when she comes to visit in the school holidays. The room next to Cassie's room is a spare room. I'm currently over 5 months pregnant and have suggested that we switch Brad's room to the spare room, or Cassie's room, since she's only been over 2 weeks in the past 4 months and doesn't really care since she doesn't view it as her room, and make Brad's current room the nursery. My husband doesn't want the baby sleeping in the same room as us, even though it's recommended by doctors to reduce the chances of SIDS, which was why I want the baby in the room right next door to us, so at least he will be close. I'm anxious about SIDS. It's my first biological child, and it would make me feel better to know that he is at least next door, so I can run over if anything happens and I can hear him. Brad doesn't want to move rooms, and my husband is agreeing with him, and says the baby should be in the room at the opposite end of the hallway, 3 bedrooms away. He's of the opinion that if SIDS were to happen, there's nothing we can do anyway. We've had a massive argument about it. He thinks making Brad move rooms will make him feel like he's moving down the pecking order, verbatim, and that we don't love him anymore. I just think that the house is more like a holiday house to Brad, as he's only there during the holidays and doesn't view it as his home, and he hasn't spent any great length of time in that room. The benefit of easing my anxiety and lowering the chances of SIDS seems like it's worth asking Brad to switch rooms that he's only spent a few weeks elapsed in. Am I the a-hole? Not an a-hole, but do not do the "it's my first biological kid" thing. It's irrelevant and definitely reinforces the moving down the pecking order thing. The baby needs the room because it's a baby, not because it has your genes. When my baby was born, I really wanted him to used to sleeping in his own crib in his own room right away. So I put our guest bed in the nursery and slept in there for the first 6 months. You are going to be getting up with the baby several times a night for months, and the closer the baby, the less work it all is, and the easier it is for you to get back to sleep. I would 100% recommend putting an extra bed in the nursery, but I'm worried that would signal your husband you are doing all the getting up. You need to have a conversation with your husband now about how much he intends to do the night waking with the baby, because refusing to have the baby in your bedroom combined with being okay with the nursery being hell and gone from your bed looks like he thinks he won't have to be bothered to take his butt down the hall all night long, and he intends to make it your problem. Even if you are breastfeeding, he could get up and change the diaper and bring the baby to you, or walk and soothe the baby when she's awake but not hungry. This dude needs to be prepared to do his share, and it doesn't sound like he's getting ready to. My husband doesn't want the baby sleeping in the same room as us, even though it's recommended by doctors to reduce the chances of SIDS. There's your real problem. I think you should fix that first before asking your stepson to move. I would say the only a-hole is your husband. Though, out of curiosity, what is the size difference between stepson's current room and the room you want him to move into? The room size is exactly the same. His room, Cassie's room, and the spare room are all built the same way. Same size, same wardrobe space, same side of the house. All 3 rooms have a window. He's of the opinion that if SIDS were to happen, there's nothing we can do anyway. Pump the freaking brakes! If my husband had said that to me when I was pregnant, I would have reevaluated our entire relationship. That is such a callous and cruel thing to say about your future child, and patently untrue. Proximity to parents does prevent SIDS, and you're going to need to get up several times a night for feedings. So obviously, the baby should be as close to you as possible. Not the a-hole. And demand your husband attend both parenting classes and couples therapy ASAP. First story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for not splitting my son's paychecks with his stepbrother?" This seems like a no-brainer to me, but in real life, I'm finding myself in the minority of that opinion. I have one bio son, 17 male from my first marriage, and one stepson, 19 male. They both work part-time in retail, and they started around the same time. My current wife's son started working first due to age and just landing a job first. When my son started his job, I started taking 30% of his pay. I matched it 100%, so if I took 150, I added another 150 to it. I never told my son why I was taking his money, and I understand that may be wrong to some people, but I stand by my decision. He knew I was putting it away, but wasn't clear on why. My wife and I don't mix finances. She was in a past abusive relationship, and so I refused to push that subject. However, I did tell her I was doing this and ask her to give it some thought for her child. My wife kind of shocked by it and felt I was doing something terrible by taking his money regardless of the reasoning behind it. She didn't pass harsh judgment or treat me differently, but she certainly thought it was unusual and unnecessary. Well, my son's 18th birthday is in 2 weeks and has been talking about a car and how much he could afford. I laid the entire thing out for him and let him know his budget was much larger than he was thinking. No rules, as it's his money, but I had opinions if he would listen. If not, irrelevant, it's his money. My son was ecstatic, and I have to say, I was about to cry when I saw him tear up and freak out. First time a nearly 18-year-old picked me up and nearly broke my back from a hug. Lol. Well, when my stepson heard about this, he felt it was unfair and my son was being favored. His mother felt the car my son had chosen was unnecessary, and I could help her son with a vehicle by stealing from my son's fund. I refused and told her that it was ridiculous, and she had the same opportunity that I did. She's now saying because my son's education is paid for, it just makes it less fair. His grandparents are paying for college, so I think that argument is moot. My son has told my wife and his stepbrother that most of the money is from his personal checks, and they aren't getting a penny of that. Furthermore, as I added the money, they should be arguing between themselves regarding why his mom didn't save all she could have. Her parents and some friends have brought it up, and my laughing has turned to anger. I'm getting sick of it. And before I shut down, I want to make sure I'm not losing my mind. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Guys, it's in the post. I did tell my wife why I was taking the money and what I was planning to do with it. It was never a secret. Edit 2 per request. My son knew why I was taking his money, but did not know I was matching his deposit. This wasn't done for any reason beyond age. When I, and I would argue most people that age, was earning money in high school, I spent it as quickly as I got it. I didn't think anyone knew better than me. I just wanted to teach him the value of saving. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If you split that money, it will forever change the relationship you have with your bio son. Your wife decided to keep finances separate, and that should not change because she doesn't know how to save. The fact that your son has help with college is completely irrelevant. The fact that Opie told his wife what he was doing and suggested she do the same for stepson absolutely absolves him of any wrongdoing regarding the favoritism. I don't necessarily like that he took the money without saying for savings or whatnot, but as his son doesn't think he's an a-hole for it, then I can't really think that either. Not the a-hole. I am sick and tired of entitled people thinking they're owed something they never worked for. It sounds like your son saved money as well. Did your stepson save money? You took 30% of your son's income and he never objected, or at least did not know why you wanted it. Your wife and stepson had the opportunity to do the same. She keeps her finances separate because of prior abuse by a third party. If she knew you were taking the money, did she ever ask? His grandparents paid for his college education. This has nothing to do with you or the other parties. So now, they're trying to manipulate you and make you feel guilty for being a good parent. Screw them. Stepson wasn't super wasteful or anything, but he never saved much. He would save for a while, but that was to buy something he wanted. Like if he wanted a Jersey or Apple product, he would save for it and spend it. He knows how to save, but I don't think he understands rainy days. She knew why I was doing it. She just thought that I should let him keep it all so he could enjoy his youth more. I understood that, but a young person can wait an extra paycheck for most things. A reliable car or the ability to travel the country/world while young is something else. Okay, so she knew about it and wanted him not to save and spend the money. Where does she get off saying her son was shortchanged? It never occurred to her, and by example the stepson, that saving might be a good idea. This is where I'm lost. I don't understand how they're making this leap of logic. She was in a very bad relationship years before we met, and she's very serious with her finances, so it confuses me too. The final update. Wife went to stay with her sister. She's upset after her son saw this post and blew up at her. Pretty sure this is over. She said things to me that I don't think we can come back from. She has a safety net of money because I paid a mortgage, so I'll be going for half of that in a divorce, I guess. My cousin's a lawyer and told me a few years ago I could get half. I talked to my son and told him the money was without question his. He's decided to buy a nice car but saved the rest for his college year so he can focus on his studies. I told him I'm proud, and I hope he wasn't upset that I put away his money without giving him a choice. And he just laughed and said he'd probably have a MacBook he wouldn't use and about 20 more MacPounds. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for agreeing to take in my sister but not my stepsisters when my parents wanted to go on vacation? I, female 20, have a sister, female 17, and two stepsisters, female 15 and female 13. My mom remarried close to 2 years ago. She's been persistent with forcing my sister to have a relationship with her husband and his kids, and because of that, my sister escapes to my house. I live with my boyfriend, male 21, in a 2-bedroom apartment. So my boyfriend and I agreed to let the second room basically turn into my sister's room. She's over almost every other week, after fighting with my mom about her forcing relationship between her and the other 2 girls. On to today's events. My mom and her husband wants to get away for a week. My mom asked if I could take in all 3 girls. They don't trust the girls home alone due to the house being wrecked and a lot more the last time they left them alone. Another story for another day. I said I could take in my sister, but not my stepsisters because 1, I wasn't comfortable having them over when I barely met them, no more than 2 to 3 times, and 2, there wouldn't be enough space. My mom suggested I let them all share the room my sister stays in when she comes over, and I said I wasn't going to force that onto her. She asked if I could just let them sleep on the couch, and I said it wouldn't be right because the couch is small, and even the 13-year-old wouldn't fit. She started getting pissy with me and said she didn't like my favoritism. And how would my stepsisters feel if they knew I didn't want them around, which is not even close to true. And maybe the a-hole here. I told her I didn't care to have a relationship with them and they're strangers to me. I said that I don't hate them, but I can't love them because I do not know them. She said my sister acted the way she did because of the way I behave, which also isn't true. My sister is her own person with her own feelings. I never once told my sister I disliked my stepsisters. All I've said to her was that it was fine if she didn't want to be close to them, that a relationship isn't a relationship if it's forced. My mom said I was an a-hole for forcing them to postpone their vacation and telling her I didn't love my stepsisters. Am I the a-hole here? Edit. My mom's husband has no family, that I'm aware of, outside of his brother and sister. His brother lives 12 plus hours away, and his sister an 8-hour drive. That's how long it took her to travel here for the wedding. Other than that, I don't know any other family he has. The girl's mom passed away when they were pretty young. Now, why my sister isn't interested in being friendly with our stepsisters? My mom has forced her for the last 2 years to share everything she has with them. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Possessions to clothes. I'm sure my stepsisters know they can get away with using her stuff. They lost their mom at a young age, and my mom wants to fill in that spot, and thinks she's doing so by giving them whatever they want. I can go on for days on how my mom has put their wants before my sister's needs. Why I'm not interested in having a relationship with them. Overall, it boils down to how they treat my sister. They're mean to her, and they get away with it because my mom thinks they're trying to fight for attention. I've explained that's not the way to do it, and she thinks she knows best. I think I covered all of the questions and gave more info for those of you who ask. Why are they going on vacation during a pandemic? I do not know. Why she didn't offer me to stay at her house? I don't know that either. But even then, I wouldn't have anywhere to sleep. I could have possibly shared with my sister, but again, she wanted them to come to my house. As far as my sister moving in with me, now or in the future, that's all up to her. She's a really smart girl, and she makes her own decisions. I won't make her feel like she has to move here, but she knows she can if/when she wants to. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Watching 3 teenagers for a week so someone else can go on vacation is a huge ask, family or not. They sound like a handful if they wrecked the house the last time. You were nice to take your sister. Maybe the other girl's mom or other relatives can watch them, or your mom and stepdad can take them along or stay home. Not an a-hole. I wouldn't want to cram 3 teenagers I actually knew and cared for into a 2-bedroom apartment for a week. Much less 2 I didn't, and one who came to me to get away from them. Your mother and her husband are the a-hole for not making proper attachments before. Their lack of planning could postpone their vacation. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not telling my family which of my children is biologically mine? I have 2 kids, Clark and Kent. While they have the same father, only one of them is biologically my child. They were born within 6 months of each other. The boys are currently 6, and for various reasons, I have full custody of both of them. I didn't speak to anyone in my family for several years, and we got back in touch in 2019. Due to the boys' ages, my family know I couldn't have carried both, unless I have the gestation period of a hamster or the longest labor ever. I have explained to them how this all came to be, but in my explanation, I neglected to tell them which was my biological child. Due to my ex having a type, the other woman looked enough like me that the boys could pass for twins. Same dark hair, blue eyes, pale skin, and both cleft chins and dimples. My brother jokes that they look like tiny supermen. People who know them refer to them as twins because aside from a few minor differences, they're practically identical. Frankly, if they were closer in age and I'd had full custody of both from the time they were born, I suspect I would have mixed them up a lot as babies. Shortly before Clark's birthday last year, my mom asked if she could see Clark's birth certificate. I asked why, and she said she wanted to know the exact time he was born, so I told her. She asked if she could see the certificate anyway. I asked why. She said she just wanted to check. I said I'm his mother. I know when he was born. Then she asked the same thing about Kent, and we went through the same conversation all over again. Mom eventually admitted that she just wanted to see the birth mother's name on each certificate, which isn't even how that works, and I told her as much. This led to an argument where my stance was that I'm their mother, biology is irrelevant. Mom says if biology is irrelevant, then it's not a big deal to tell her which of them is biologically mine. I said if she's so hung up on biology, then clearly it's a big deal to her. And I don't want it to be a big deal, especially as the boys themselves don't know. Mom feels this is incredibly selfish, narcissistic, and overall wrong. She feels that if biology isn't such a big issue, then I should have no problem telling her whether Clark or Kent is my biological son, and that accusing her of potential favoritism or something similar with her bio-grandchild is an unfair judgment with no actual reasoning to it. My boyfriend agrees that I shouldn't tell anyone, at least until my sons have decided for themselves if they want to know and want other people to know. But my entire family agree with Mom and that I'm being unreasonably selfish, and that my actions now are more likely to cause issues than Mom's potential actions later. Am I in the wrong? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If she ever finds out, your mother will favor the biological grandchild. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter to her who was on the birth certificate. Agreed. I'd be cautious to ensure she doesn't take a swab to their mouth when Mom isn't looking. If Mom isn't close enough to know 1. When her daughter gave birth, and 2. What she named her baby, then I hope the mom isn't allowed to be alone with them long enough to secretly swab them. Not the a-hole totally and completely. You know she's going to make a big deal out of it the way she has pestered you, and getting the family to be her flying monkeys. I sincerely hope you have their birth certificates locked up tight in a safe or safety deposit box, so she cannot say she accidentally came across it. Would she resort to contacting your ex? Would you tell her? If you are cordial with him, or at least if he's a little bit reasonable, would it be a good idea to give him a heads up that your mom is pushing hard to know which boy is yours biologically, and you don't want her to know? We're not cordial, and he's not reasonable, but he's completely uncontactable to my whole family, including me. Truthfully, even if she could contact him, I doubt he'd even remember which son is biologically mine, because he barely even knows their names and birthdays, and he hasn't seen them since they were both under a year old. Now, for the last story, am I the a-hole for not being more supportive of former stepdaughter? When I was 19 to 25, I was in a relationship with Sam, 30 male, the father of Chloe, 1 female. Her mom wasn't in her life, and I sort of stepped in. I was there for almost everything, and we really bonded. Chloe knew I wasn't her bio mom, but she'd still sometimes call me mom. Sam was controlling. The last straw was Sam refusing to let me attend a relative's funeral and hiding my phone and keys from me because he assumed I would leave him. It broke me to leave Chloe, but I had to. My biggest regret is that I left without saying goodbye to her. It's been 7 years. I have a fiancé and a son. On Tuesday, I was added and messaged on Facebook by someone with a name close to Chloe, think Zoe. Empty profile, generic picture. I knew it was her because of the message, "Hi, my name. It's Chloe, I miss you," and an old photo of us. I cried when I saw it. We talked. She asked about my family. I got updated photos and she told me how she was. I felt a huge weight off my shoulders. Not a day has gone by that I don't think of Chloe, and it felt good to know that she's okay. I didn't ask about Sam, and she never went into much about him. Last night, Chloe asked why I left. I tried changing the subject, and I was vague to avoid bad-mouthing Sam, but she vented to me, telling me how hard it was to grow up without a mom, and how upset Sam was. She asked me if I had really left them to be with my fiancé. I didn't even know him then. I told her I hadn't, but she seemed too upset to understand, so I said goodnight. I woke up today to paragraphs and missed voice/video calls from her. It hurts my heart to read. It's obvious that Sam lied to her. She was begging for answers and calling me mom. I told her I didn't leave for someone else. I get why she'd feel hurt, and I'm sorry that I couldn't be there for her. I'm not her mom, and there's nothing I could do. I love her and wish the best for her, but this is a conversation for her and Sam. I told her that while I know she wants a relationship with me, it would be better to wait until she's an adult and not a minor still under Sam's care. I unadded her. My fiancé came home to me being a sobbing mess and was supportive until I told him what I had told her. He had an absent parent growing up. I think this is why it affected him so much. He didn't outright go off, but he implied that I'd left Chloe again. He went as far as to ask me if I'd do this to our son if we split up. It's been hours. My fiancé has shut himself in our room and won't talk to me, and I can't sleep. I struggle with anxiety, and this situation has worsened it. I feel like my fiancé has a point. I've seen what he's gone through and how he still struggles, and I don't want to do that to Chloe. I can't undo the past, but I'm thinking of reading her and trying to hear her out. I thought setting the boundaries I did would help, but it's only hurts my fiancé, so God knows how Chloe feels. I feel terrible and confused. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I think you made the best decision in the moment, but I think that Chloe reaching out to you is important. If I were in your position, I would unblock her and be honest why you left her father while reassuring her that you did not leave because of her. I would also keep the line of communication, reassure her that you care for her and that you will be there for her. Let her know that she had nothing to do with why you left. Let her know that you care for her and always will, but also that as she's still a minor, her father will have a say in how you can communicate. Does your fiancé often makes things that are frankly none of his business all about him? This 1,000 times. If he can't differentiate between OP escaping an abuser and what happened to him, that's his problem. If OP was less kind, she could corner him and ask him if he thinks she should have stayed with an abuser for the child's sake, and if he's planning to try and abuse her next if he's worried about what happens to their kids in that situation. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.